Welcome to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend Matt.
All right, Chris, it's time for another patented taste test.
Oh no. Okay.
I have with me, and this isn't like totally outrageous, but I'm not sure if I will like it specifically.
Sure.
I have a Grandma's brand. The brand is called Grandma's peanut butter cookie.
Okay. I mean, that already sounds delicious.
Packaged by the Frito-Lay Corporation.
Okay. I would imagine that.
I was given these.
Okay.
Did not purchase them myself, so I just want to see how they taste.
Okay.
And I'm not like a big cookie person, nor am I like a big like peanut butter dessert person, even though I do like peanut butter.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So we're gonna very much smells like peanut butter. That much is true.
That's a good sign that it smells like peanut butter. Because if it didn't, that would be alarming. Considering that it has a very potent smell.
Mm-hmm.
Peanut butter is known for.
Okay, I mean it does taste like a peanut butter cookie.
That's that's another check benchmark.
Like, I was never a fan of like Nutter Butter or anything like that. So I'm not a huge fan of the cookie overall.
Okay.
But maybe you would be if you like peanut butter cookies more.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather have a peanut butter sandwich, you know?
Right.
Even as a dessert, I would rather have the peanut butter sandwich.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
Are you a peanut butter and jelly person or a peanut butter and banana person?
Both.
You love both. Okay, cool.
I love both.
Yeah.
I mean, I eat peanut butter and jelly more because bananas are fickle beasts.
Right. Yeah.
But I will scarf down both of them. Maybe even at the same time. I'll put all three on. I've never tried that. Maybe it's good. I don't know.
I think it probably would be good, but I've only had the peanut butter banana sandwich once. Kelsey made it for me once, and it was to die for. I think I would still lean more towards having peanut butter and jelly, but that shit's very good. I know we've had conversations in the past about. I know that you and I are very similar in that we're not like the huge sweet heads necessarily. But I'm surprised. Like I think. I'm a little surprised by by you not being a big cookie person, because I feel like cookies are short bursts of like, and not being too sweet, that I would feel like it would be easier to have a lot of them. But at least for me, as someone who is not like, typically doesn't love super sweet stuff.
Most cookie people also make their cookies really soft, and I don't like soft cookies. I like harder cookies. I think my ideal cookie would be a chocolate... This is my ideal cookie, and I'm not kidding.
Sure.
A harder chocolate chip cookie without the chocolate chips in it.
Okay. Like, so you almost like a Chips Ahoy, but maybe like sans chocolate.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because my least favorite part about chocolate chip cookies are the chocolate chips themselves.
Alright, fair enough. I'm... Cookies, like I say, I'm not a sweets person. Like let me correct that. I do like sweets, but I'm again I get overwhelmed by sweets sometimes. Yeah. Like there is a cutoff point where I'm like, okay, I can't really have much. Like most cakes, I get sick of very quickly. Like I cannot have a lot of cake. Cookies are one of those things though that are a little dangerous. Oreos I can have a lot of, and then chocolate chip cookies. Homemade chocolate chip cookies fresh out of the oven when they are soft. Oh my god, that shit is like fucking that shit hits hard for me. Like I love that so much. But there are some good like packaged cookies out there that even though they're a bit harder in nature, that they still taste good. Like Chips Ahoy and Linden Cookies is another brand that my mom loves. Linden Cookies. That's like that shit's very good. Those are like two, like they come in like packages of like 2 cookies, and they don't, and I feel like they might be up your alley because they don't really have like a ton of chocolate chips in them. It is very much, it's almost all cookie with like a couple of chocolate chips.
Perhaps I may check it out.
You gotta look into it. But yeah, there's your cookie recommendations. But I will say, like, I mentioned Oreos. I don't know if you've seen this, Matt, going around, but they had... So, we're still in an era where everyone obsesses over the metaverse as a marketing, from a marketing perspective. But the one thing that Oreo did was that they created an Oreo cookie where they put a shit ton of the stuffing in it. So it's kind of like a mega stuff, but instead of it just being all of the stuffing, it's the they put Oreo pieces inside of the stuffing.
Oh yeah.
So it was it's like they call it like an Oreo verse type cookie. And that shit looks amazing. I'm typically not the biggest, like, mega stuff to me feels like too much, but the idea, I feel like, based off of what I've heard, it kind of, the fact that the Oreo cookies are inside of it, it just tastes like an Oreo milkshake, and that sounds fucking incredible.
You want a cookies and cream?
Basically.
Cream?
That's what that is.
Cookies and cream.
Exactly. We'll say though the Hershey's cookies and cream. I don't particularly. I like, but I don't love. I
did enjoy it when I had it.
Yeah, like it has like that is the example of
much more cream.
I am just like very much focused in on having short bursts of sweet, not long-term bursts. So to me, I can only have like a little bit of those Hershey chocolate bars every once in a while. But hey, you know what? We also will have short bursts of football because there's not a lot going on. Well, there is a lot going on, but there's not a lot of football being played unless you pay attention to the XFL. Great. In that case, you're having a good time. You're living the football life.
Shout out to AJ McCarron.
Right? Yeah, that's right. But otherwise, the NFL is. I want to say it's like taking a break, but it's not. It is going full speed ahead into the new league year. And so in today's episode, we're going to talk about all the news that has been going down, and we're going to talk about what moves we would like to see be made this offseason. I'll expect this to be a super long episode, but granted, we just spent 6 minutes talking about cookies. So we'll see how it goes. Anyways, let's dive into it. I will say, there's been no major breaking news yet. Mostly everything has been speculation and anticipation. There's a chance that as we're sitting here today talking that something could break, some news could break. There might be a chance.
I think it's gonna break immediately after we stop recording.
That's what's gonna happen, and we're gonna post this podcast, and then there's gonna be some sort of major breaking news that we're gonna have to wait a couple of weeks to even react to, essentially. So that's just how it goes. But all right. Anyways, let us get into the first few headlines. We're going to start with the speculative headlines more than anything, because again, no major breaking news has occurred necessarily. The first headline here: Lamar Jackson could be traded. Right now the situation seems a bit more dire than it did back in late January, where it felt like the Ravens were on track to get Lamar Jackson signed, get him in a good situation, pay-wise, but the closer we get, the more it's starting to sound like the Ravens are willing to listen to the trade offers for him, send him on his way, and basically take their lumps for the 2023 and potentially 2024 seasons while they maybe look to rebuild their roster, which feels kind of wild to think about, but that is what's kind of happening. The Ravens are also a little under fire in a now deleted tweet. Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver, one of their newer wide receivers, he kind of teed off on the fact that the GM and I guess the organization as a whole has done a poor job of setting up the wide receivers and Lamar Jackson up for success, which has been kind of evident in the last few years. Ravens have also been under scrutiny for their strength staff. There was an NFLPA report that came out that graded all the strength and conditioning staffs for all the different organizations, as well as a bunch of other stuff. It's a much more interesting, more detailed report. But one of the key takeaways is that the Ravens, well, a lot of organizations had like an A's and B's. The Ravens had an F minus, which Matt, you are familiar with education. I don't think.
You can't get minuses.
You can't get F
when you
minuses.
Get an F. You just get the F.
I don't think F minuses would have been a thing, but apparently in this, the F that is what the Ravens got, was an F minus for the strength and conditioning, and it's just, this is such a weird story, Matt, because I look at this and I think a lot of us felt. And maybe this is every organization of this any NFL organization is going to have its issues, but it always kind of felt like the Ravens were one of the lesser problematic teams. Did not feel like they were fundamentally organizationally a disaster, but the cracks are beginning to kind of get bigger, and it seems like it's gonna burst the moment that Lamar Jackson gets traded, if that's what's gonna happen. I'm very curious where your mind's at on this one.
All right, so part of this is that I like there's a lot going into it, and neither side I think is like fully in the right or in the wrong, if that makes sense. I'm always gonna side with the players, of course.
Yes, that's my key. Yeah,
but there's a lot going on with the fact that the Browns signed Deshaun Watson to this insane contract with a lot of guaranteed money, right? That's kind of what Lamar has been reported to wanting as well, and that could just be like press nonsense that the team is putting out to like make Lamar look bad or whatever. But Lamar wants a lot of money, which he deserves because he's a great quarterback. He did not do well last year because he was injured, and because he didn't have a fucking team around him. Outside of Lamar Jackson and kind of Mark Andrews, no one else on his team has been fully remarkable. Partly because injuries, but partly because they weren't able to support him, and nor have they been supporting him since he was fucking drafted. And that's been his thing for the whole time. One of the reasons why he's had to run so much is because he's had no one to fucking pass to. Right?
Yep.
So he could totally go somewhere else. Plenty of teams have a need for a quarterback, a lot of people to pass to, and that's pretty much it. And it's weird because it's almost a two-edged sword for Baltimore, because they A, need to pay him, but then B, they need to pay other wide receivers, which they can't do as much if they pay Lamar too much, right?
Right.
So I feel like it's just an overall losing scenario where if Lamar gets signed, I don't think they'd be able to trade for a DeAndre Hopkins as an example, right? I've been saying right a lot more.
Yeah, no.
When I start making points, I just notice that.
It's like you're saying. You're clarifying that everything you're saying is true. In fact, not at all objective. So that's that, and I think that's people need to understand that.
Yeah.
I'm completely with you, and it's going to be interesting. Like it has been we pile on the Packers a lot because it's easy to, A, and B, Rodgers also makes it easy, but the Ravens have had the same exact issue that Rodgers and the Packers have had the last few years in terms of just getting someone in there to help Lamar. And I think anyone who is trying to sit here and say that Lamar Jackson should not get paid, I think has an agenda that I don't want to listen to
yet
at this point. If he wants a fully guaranteed contract, let him argue for that. Like, I mean, I think look, he's got an MVP under his belt. Like, I don't really understand. The only thing I can
he's washed, Chris.
Yeah,
he's washed though.
Yeah. He
was injured all season, but no, he's washed. He's washed.
Yeah, four or 5 years in the league, and he's already washed.
But Daniel Jones isn't, right?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. But that's the thing. Like with Lamar, it's like I understand that the injuries are a concern, but I also think that you could look at that and be like, that's a Lamar thing, or if what we're seeing from the NFLPA reports, that it also could just be the Ravens as well, not putting him in a good situation to, be able to recover from that, from those injuries well. It could be the fact that it also just could be an organizational issue right now, that they have just fallen apart at the moments where they really feel like the last few years have been ridiculous how easy it's been for this team to fall apart, considering the fact that they've are otherwise a relatively talented team. Like, yes, the wide receiver thing is an issue, but almost a lot of their other parts of their roster are pretty good, and it's the fact that they are going to be willing to blow it up because they don't want to pay Lamar. I mean, you do bring up a good point. Like, it is like you do want to make sure you have enough money, but to pay Lamar and then also bring in a wide receiver. I mean, I as far as my understanding of the Hopkins side of things, I don't think his contract would be too much to take on. At least,
yeah, I'm sure
in the current stage.
Just the example I was using.
Yeah, no, in that current stage, but even still, like there's also it is a much harder wide receiver market to try to navigate at this point. But you also had Bateman, who he was injured last year, but he kind of was starting to show signs that he was going to be a good player, and I also don't necessarily count him out for turning things around on his end either. But again, all of that doesn't matter if the organization itself is not going to put in the effort to improve their facilities, improve what they need to do in order to put their players in a better position as well. So it's a mess at the end of the day. I think if I'm Lamar Jackson, as much as it seems like, I mean, he's done right by the Baltimore community, and he's been a great Raven in general, but it might be better for him situationally to consider that maybe it might be better to get traded and be sent elsewhere, and to hold out at this point, to kind of go somewhere else, especially if the organization is not going to help you otherwise. So it's interesting. It's just so funny from where we were back in January, where John Harbaugh and DaCosta both were coming to the podium and was saying like how much they love Lamar, how much things are going to work out. We're gonna pay. We're gonna get him. They basically were making it sound like they were going to pay him any second, and that this was going to be something that they were easily going to figure out. And it was not going to be a big storyline, and now it's the talking point of the combine this week. So, I don't know what to do with the Baltimore Ravens at this point.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. The report from a longtime Packers reporter says that the Packers are done with Rodgers. They are completely disgusted with him and are ready to move on from him. That's if Rodgers decides to stick around, or at least to try to keep playing. Of course, I don't know if we had this discussion on the podcast, Matt, but Aaron Rodgers decided to partake in the darkness retreat.
The most normal thing the player can do, right?
Yes, and the details of that are essentially he goes into a dark hole and stays there.
Does a lot of cocaine.
I didn't know about that aspect of it.
I think people are just joking that he does a lot of fucking drugs.
I mean, I guess that could also make sense. He was even saying, and I don't even know why I even pay attention to this guy, but I guess because he's just a funny figure to make fun of, so you kind of you do kind of listen in on some of his bullshit.
Yeah.
But apparently, like, he gets fed through a hole in the wall. And
normal.
and he's just it's basically
solitary.
He's putting it is willful solitary confinement, and boy, that just like how privileged you have to be that you want to do that for your life. But anyways, alright, so cool. He goes on his darkness retreat. You know what also is normal? Just turning off your phone and your computer and just going outside for a few days too. Like that could just be as much of a darkness retreat as anything
Chris, then
else.
He doesn't get attention.
Right. God damn.
And nobody loves him, so he needs attention and Pat McAfee to pay attention to him.
Right. He Rogers went on his buddy Aubrey, whatever the fuck the guy's name is. He went on that guy's podcast and people were like, oh, this is his first words since Darkness Retreat, because everyone was like, oh, the Darkness Retreat, that's when he's gonna make his decision. He's gonna think about all his future and come to a decision. And he goes on his friend's podcast and he's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, okay. And then so we wait. This man's exhausting. This story is exhausting. It's time for us to figure out a way to ship Aaron Rodgers to Mars.
Yep.
But
make him best friends with Elon. That won't be annoying at all.
Oh, I'm sure he has. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers has quite the fondness for Elon in many ways. But regardless of this, though, I've said this before. There is an interest and an intrigue about the situation, only because it is a guy who has been in the league for many years, who's been the Packers quarterback for many years, has many MVPs, is considered one of the best quarterbacks
that nobody cares about.
Right. Well,
especially the recent ones. The past couple MVPs that he's won are ones that literally nobody cares about.
Right. Well, I understand that, but it is still like, say what you will about Rodgers, it is an unfortunate fact, I guess, that he is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and that is so where he's gonna end up is still a very active story, and I think I'm curious about what the Packers are disgusted with him about, because if I'm being honest, I don't imagine it's his vaccination stance. I like what, based off of the reporting, it's the fact that he didn't really like do anything to get ready for this past season. Like, he was not doing the usual conditioning things that any other player would do, and therefore that was part of the reason. At least it sounds like they are blaming him for why this past season ended up not working out for them, to some extent. Do you expect Rodgers to go away?
I hope he does. He's gonna play football again, though. I don't think it will be on the Packers. I think he will get traded.
Yeah,
but I do think he will play football this season, and it will be. My hope is that it will be as funnily awful as Russ has been, or Watson has been. Sure. Like, I hope it's that level of just pure mediocrity.
Right. Like, this is you're hoping that it just like wherever he goes, it just falls apart, and it ends up being as absurd of a quarterback tenure that you could hope for. I hope so too. I hope but at the same time, like, there are teams that it's a little bit different from the Deshaun Watson thing, where we basically changed the football team's name for an entire season because of it, where if the Jets went inside Aaron Rodgers, I won't be that mad at them, because I get it.
It's not Rodgers is a weird dude, and I disagree with him politically.
Yes.
He's not a serial sex offender.
Right. That's
that we know of.
Yes.
that was mean. I don't want to like lay those claims on someone.
No, I know.
When they didn't earn them. So
no,
I still don't like Rodgers. That was too far. I apologize.
No, you're fine. But it is it is I'm not going to be mad at the Jets for getting Rodgers. Will it make me kind of hope that they don't do well? Yeah, but I at the same time, like, Jets fans have not had a good quarterback ever, and if you could get something out of him and out of that team for a little while, like, all right, like, I get it. I like, it's not. I'm not going to sit here and be like super annoyed by that. I will be annoyed by his existence, though, and I will not want to listen to anything that he has to say, because at this, again, it is just a lot. He is a lot, as a frequent annoyance now in terms of media presence at this point. Speaking of players that are done with their teams, Jalen Ramsey is probably going to be traded over the course of the next month. This comes after some tweets that were later deleted, kind of indicated that Ramsey is going to be potentially going somewhere else, or at least that the Rams are looking to trade him somewhere. This makes sense just because the Rams definitely don't seem like a team that is. They went from a team that felt like it was going to be in a win now position for a couple of years to now things are looking more towards them rebuilding and restructuring some things now, and Ramsey being on the docket to get some first round picks back. That feels like a smart thing to do.
I like the idea of trading Jalen Ramsey a lot.
Yeah. So,
and now that you reminded me, I may change one of my things for later.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, so that's a story, and it doesn't sound like it's like a problematic thing. It doesn't seem like this is much controversy around this. It's just a good player running the course of with his time with a franchise, and it just feels like the time is ready to make this move.
It's the same thing with Hopkins in Arizona right now.
Right. Yeah, like, it's just like where the Rams are at, it does not it's amazing that they're already at this point, but it already feels like the Rams are just not trying to win the Super Bowl right away again at this point, and so why not move a talented player to a place where he can still try to compete for championships? So that's just the story. Yeah, I think that's a big name, obviously, in the quarterback market to be on the move, and it'll be exciting to see where he lands. There's quite a few places that could absolutely use him, so super cool, super excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
All right. This was one of my favorite stories. Russell Wilson reportedly wanted Pete Carroll fired. So this is a story that came out of the Athletic, but essentially, Russell Wilson basically went to Seahawks ownership and wanted both Pete Carroll and John Schneider fired, and that ultimately led to Russell Wilson being traded, because that was not happening. That was a very I forget what the title of the story was, and who reported on it specifically. But the story also included the fact that Russell Wilson had his own office in Denver this past season, where it was an office that was like on the executive level, where players typically don't go unless they're getting cut. Russell Wilson just had a full-on office and also his own staff. And Sean Payton has already kind of made it clear after that report came out that I don't know if he confirmed that was actually happening, but he basically said that stuff is not going to continue happening. Boy, everything around Russell Wilson and this trade and this past season is probably one of the most bonkers. Like, we don't talk enough about how bonkers this season has been for the Broncos and for Russell Wilson. How wild this shit has been.
Yeah, Russ, like, you saw it a little bit, but even just like the more you pull back the curtains, it's like he had his office himself. What is going on with this guy? Like, the entire season, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to what's the word I'm looking for?
It's hard to believe.
Hard to quantify.
Yes.
All the weird shit.
It is an endless stream of weird bullshit that, again, like, I feel like there was always a weird vibe with teammates and Russell Wilson, but I don't think it was ever as public as it is right now, in terms of us seeing that he does not seem like a very grounded individual. And that's kind of unfortunate. The hope is that maybe this past season and everything that happened, and maybe with Sean Payton showing up, maybe all of these things will humble Wilson in some ways. And the other part of the report was he, instead of, like, there is moments where he's just having conversations with his teammates, and he would just keep on showing plays of his time with Seattle about how good he was, like specifically like a highlight reel of like some of his best plays, but it was nothing that actually contributed to the conversation or helping the current team do well and to get better. He just would just keep on showing them that. Like,
right, I got a comic this reminds me of.
It just reminds me of, like, do you ever have, like, someone, like, a relative, like, come up to you and, like, just show you their phone and, like, show you something that they think is really funny, but you're just kind of like,
yeah,
but like Russell Wilson is just the guy that's just gonna come up to you and show you his plays and expect you to be like, oh, whoa, that's sick, dude, and you're just kind of like, all right, cool.
I sent Chris the comic of the guy that runs up and says, hey, check out how hard I can pee.
And it's just 3 panels of the guy peeing really, really hard and the other one just staring at him peeing.
This is Russell Wilson according to this conversation.
Oh, man. Yeah. What a fucking shit show. The NFL's right now, like, I don't know what it is, but, like, the past few weeks about, especially, like, the things that are coming out about, you know, the field during the Super Bowl, and then the strength and conditioning across the league being a disaster, and doctors being a disaster for the NFL, and every single turn with the NFL is just such a disaster. But then you just have these not as important moments of disaster that you can just take joy in. Like, I feel like everything with the Russell Wilson saga just kind of gives me joy. Not that I necessarily hate that, like, not that I hate the Broncos and want this stuff to happen to them, but this is just a accessory. They're just an accessory to bullshit that is happening that is just kind of hilarious to me. Yeah. And so I'll enjoy it while it lasts. But hey, maybe things are going to change now with Sean Payton. Maybe things will turn around. Who knows? Hi everyone, it's Chris, and I'm back once again to tell you all about Anchor. Anchor by Spotify has actually been the tool of choice for Team Chaos Production since the moment we decided to get into podcasting. And the biggest reason for this is it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or even your phone. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, but also Apple Podcasts and many more. And best of all, Anchor is free. You do not need to worry about any features being locked out to you. You can get it all if you just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Happy podcasting.
Sick of talking about video games with people who just want to be toxic? Me too. So join us over at the Gaming Coop. We come together each month to talk about what we love about video games. Discussion topics range from our favorite soundtracks to the best relationships between characters. We also have some fun segments in which we play some trivia or build our school of gaming. Find us on Anchor or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Game on.
There was quite a few coaching movement that happened, and while I'm sure that there's a lot of noteworthy things, this to me was the most noteworthy. Eric Bieniemy, after years of being on the Chiefs staff, having been a successful offensive coordinator, having won multiple Super Bowls with them as the offensive coordinator, he decided to, after many times trying to interview for head coaching positions and failing to get them, decided to take a lateral move and go for another offensive coordinator position with the Commanders. So now Eric Bieniemy is the offensive mind that's leading the charge in Washington. Matt, this I think for a lot of people, they look at this and they say, why leave the Chiefs? Why move on? And I think the main thing here is now there is no excuse of Andy Reid being there, and that's why the offense is successful. Now it's completely your show.
Yeah, he's been looked over a lot for a lot of different. I don't even know if different reasons is the right word, but been overlooked for many years, and I think that if it's something with him, it's something with him, but with the Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls with him, and now he gets a chance to be the offensive guy rather than just he's the offensive guy, but Andy Reid is also there, right?
Right.
So I think it's a good idea for him, and I think that it's a really great move for Washington, and it's a big step forward for them, especially since they are going to have to compete really hard in this now very competitive division. It's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, it is. There is still a somewhat lingering question about what the quarterback situation is. I mean, they are going to right now roll with Sam Powell as QB1. But at first, I know we talked about this, I think, but it did sound like he was going to be the starter week 1, but now it's more so that he's entering the offseason as QB1, but they may still look for options in terms of veterans that might fill in for at least temporarily. But yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense for him, and Ron Rivera is a defensive head coach, so the defense is more in his wheelhouse. So you have to have someone else that is your offensive mind, and someone like him who there was comments made by LaShawn McCoy that made it sound like that maybe Bieniemy wasn't that good of a coach, but then you had such a stream of Chiefs players and just former colleagues of Bieniemy or the former players of Bieniemy that have come out and said how great of a coach he is, how much he contributed to the success of the Chiefs in general. And I will take the quantity of people who would endorse him and say that he's a great coach over just one player. I think that he has been talked about so much especially in the conversation of the lack of black head coaches that there are in the league, and being the prime example of someone that should be a head coach and has not been. And I think that there are some people who would make the argument that that just focusing on the one guy is not going to really change the overall conversation about black head coaches. Because the moment that he it's not like if he gets hired, then the diversity problem is solved. That's not how that works.
Right.
But if there was any other criticisms for Bieniemy, it was only the fact that Andy Reid was his head coach and was the guy that was doing a lot of offensive work as well. So this just makes a lot of sense. I don't know how well he's going to be able to do considering considering it is such a tough division at this point. But if they at least could make something that's super exciting on the field, I mean, there are a lot of talented players on that offense that you can use. I would be very interesting to see how it goes. And if I do think if this is a successful year, not necessarily that like Washington makes the playoffs, but at the very least, if the offense is super exciting in Washington, then I think that there's the excuses for not hiring Bieniemy start to really start to fall apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. I think good move overall, like you said. Let's touch briefly on the Jalen Carter situation. This is really interesting. But the basically the top defensive prospect for this NFL draft is now caught up in a legal situation that is that goes back to back in January. Georgia won the national championship, and then a week later, one of their players plus an assistant on the staff were killed in a car accident, and it is now based off of the charges that are being brought against Jalen Carter. It sounds like he was present for that. He was in another car, and the two cars were supposedly they were participating in some sort of drag racing, or at least just racing on it's drag racing no matter what, right? Like I'm trying to.
Yeah, I think so.
Like street racing and drag racing, like that's pretty much the same thing, I think. But,
drag racing is when you dress like a woman.
Right. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure if that's the connection, but sure. let's go with that.
It's not.
No, I know. But yes. Yes. The overall it does seem like Jalen Carter might have actually played into might have that played into that race that might have caused the car accident, and there's charges being brought against him for reckless driving. There's not. It's not like he's being charged necessarily with. I don't think he's being charged with anything to do with like, oh, he murdered them or that he was necessarily the cause of their death, but he is being charged for incidents that occurred on that day and potentially lying to the police about having actually been present there. I don't know. I look at the story and I just think it's fucking sad. Like I feel bad for everyone involved. I do feel bad for Jalen Carter. I feel bad, obviously, for the victims and their families. But I also think that I think that there's some crimes that are made that are done that's on the individual, that is a blight on that person's character, and people should criticize them and people should not light up on that, and there's many instances of that in the NFL. I look at this and I'm like, I think that Jalen Carter just made a dumb move to race, and he got it. I don't think he at all was ever wanted to see his teammate get killed. He made a mistake to not tell the truth about it, but I don't look at it as he's a bad person and he deserves what he's getting. It's more so I feel terrible for him, and I feel bad that it's gonna probably affect or it might affect his NFL future at this point. But yeah, wild story though overall.
Yeah, I think this will be a case where I think it will affect where he's drafted. He will be I don't know if he'll be one of the top picks anymore, especially like and I even think that this affects the this may even affect like what the Bears do, because Bears could have taken Jalen Carter at number 1.
Yep.
And now, if he falls a little bit more, he may not be actually worth it to take there. So that the thought process behind that really affects like where he gets taken, what the Bears are going to do, and things like that. I do think that it will be a one of those situations though overall where he drops a little bit because of this issue, but as long as he doesn't continue to do this. Which I don't think he will. I don't.
No.
That tone came came out weird, but
no, I
that it won't affect him in the long run, and he'll seem like a steal in the draft.
Yeah, and again, I think, I mean, we'll see what how the charges play out, how the legal process plays out, if he will be serving time, because obviously if he does serve time,
is a whole other can of worms.
That completely changes. That will probably end up leading him to be undrafted. But I also that the legal situation is not going to wrap up that quickly.
No. So
he probably will get drafted somewhere. But yeah, no, again, it's just it's a tragic circumstance, tragic situation, and we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, it's one of those stories though where you're gonna remember this as as one of those like weird draft stories, maybe not on. It's definitely not on the same level considering the circumstances and who was affected by it. But this kind of almost reminds me of the video leak of Laramie Tunsil, and then how he slipped in the draft, and how quickly that happened. This is obviously much more far out, and again, much more harmful of circumstances. But it's just that I'm gonna remember this story for a while. Like this is is very, very wild. And then we have a lot of players who have been released. Going down the list, from the Titans, Taylor Lewan and Robert Woods no longer on the team. Bobby Wagner was released from the Rams. Michael Brockers released from the Lions. Carson Wentz and Marcus Mariota released from their respective teams. Kenny Galladay released from the Giants. Leonard Fournette from the Bucks. Cameron Brate for the Bucks. Shaquille Griffin from the Jaguars. And John Johnson from the Browns. Any notable names there that stand out to you, Matt?
None that are like necessarily surprises. Obviously, like a Carson Wentz is a big deal just because like of his own history.
Sure.
But he also didn't play well last season, so like it's not anything super surprising.
Yeah, I think the Bobby Wagner thing maybe when it first was being reported, or the first time they were saying that he was planning on being released, it was a little surprising given the fact that he was on. At least he was on like an AP all pro team this past season. I forget if it was first team or second team, but he had a relatively solid season overall. But it goes back to the fact that the Rams are probably looking at more of a rebuild situation. So Wagner, they're giving him an opportunity to kind of explore his options, and then maybe if things don't really pan out in the open market, maybe returning to the team for the next season. No, you're right. None of these other things surprise me. I mean, Kenny Galladay was one of the bigger Giants, bigger free agent busts in general. Completely did not work out with New York. We'll see.
He made like $1 million a catch, though.
Right. Like so. Yeah, the money was worth it, but for what was worth it for him.
Yeah.
But not so much for the Giants. And Leonard Fournette being released is like, oh wow, to me that's like a little surprising. I know that he was not necessarily performing at a top level this year, but I always find him to be a very fascinating figure because he always just shows up when they need him most. A lot of times that's why he's playoff Lenny. Or Lombardi Lenny when he went to the Super Bowl. So yeah, it's interesting to see that he's going to be potentially on a new team. There's a lot of other reported cuts that could be happening. Some rumors of Joe Mixon potentially being cut, Adam Thielen being cut.
The Joe Mixon one is really funny because you get the quote from the Bengals general manager about T. Higgins. And I was like, I'm not in the business of trading T. Higgins. My job is to make the Bengals organization better. So it's ridiculous that you would even suggest that. And then, will Joe Mixon be on the team? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it does seem like the signs are there, and it seems pretty obvious that Joe Mixon is not going to be on the team. There is something else that popped up with Mixon recently. I thought there was some sort of legal trouble with him on that front. And I say legal trouble. I say that I realize that's like minimizing what it could be. I'm just saying that because I just don't know the specifics. But
there was something going on with him when he was in draft season 2 or something.
Well, yes, that was after he punched a woman.
That's right.
In like a restaurant, and it was caught on camera. That was the draft season. There was something else that popped up though with him. I forget what it was specifically recently. Unless I dreamt that. In that case, I'm sorry for saying anything. But yeah, so that's that. That's all speculation right now. We don't know anything for sure. And finally, the Browns and Jets are going to be playing in the Hall of Fame game, which makes sense. Joe Thomas has got inducted. Darrelle Revis got inducted. So those are the two teams that will be showing up for the Hall of Fame game. I like the Hall of Fame game because it's like, oh, football's coming back, and so it's just a nice thing to see on your television. But is the game entertaining? No, it never is. But it's just nice to see because it's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, the sport's coming back. So excited to see that. All right, that is gonna do it for the news. Before we go, next time you hear from us, free agency would be starting. Trades probably would have happened. News would have broken. And again, probably by the time this gets uploaded, Lamar Jackson's probably traded already. Jalen Ramsey's traded. Something. There's probably a lot of shit that's happened already by the time this gets uploaded because that's just how this thing. That's how it works for us. So we wanted to do a little bit of some predictions of what, or at least free agency trade stuff that we would like to see happen for this off season. So Matt, you came up with 3. I came up with 3. Where do you want to start? Who are you looking at right now?
All right, I've got a bit of this is a very fun one.
Sure.
I want to see Jalen Ramsey go to the Lions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I want to see the Lions draft Illinois' Devin Witherspoon.
Ah.
And just have the biggest, the best fucking quarterbacks ever together. And then that be their big defensive thing. Because their defense was so shit last year that, I feel like they're able to make that kind of investment in Ramsey and then get Witherspoon in the draft.
Yeah.
And then they got to do a lot of work on their front, but they got a really good secondary then.
Yeah, I mean, Aiden Hutchinson started to play well down the stretch. There's room for them that they can really make it fascinating and fun. So I really love that. Actually, I think the Lions are the team that I think I want to see succeed the most next season. More than
Lions Jaguars Super Bowl, we're calling it.
Yeah, well, yeah, we did call it.
we did call it. So if it's a Lions, if it's the capital of our dreams,
yes,
the Lions and the Jaguars.
Yeah, there was once an era. There was once an era where Panthers Bengals was the capital of our dream.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore. But Bengals,
not right now.
Although Bengals are on the deck.
Bengals can do it though. Bengals can do it.
Yeah, the Bengals can make it there, and
yeah,
maybe the Lions in the surprise.
Lions Bengals. I'm okay with Lions Bengals.
Yeah,
have it be a Tacoma battle of Tacoma, all over again.
Wait, I'm dumb.
So the city of Tacoma, Ohio, was originally the state of Michigan and state of Ohio went to war at one point over the city of Tacoma and that little strip of land.
I see.
But the U.S. government stepped in and gave Tacoma to Ohio, with the concession that Michigan was then given the Upper Peninsula. So that's why Michigan has the UP. It's because of Tacoma.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, little piece of U.S. history for you there. So,
yeah.
the Tacoma still is very much split between Michiganders and Ohioans.
Sure.
Including there's even a shop where you can that's split literally down the middle of Michigan and Ohio State gear.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's fun stuff right there. Cool.
Also, the setting of the NBC and now Peacock exclusive sitcom AP Bio.
Oh, yeah. How is that still going on, or is that?
It might still be. I don't know. I enjoyed the first 2 seasons because it has Glenn Howard and Patton Oswalt.
Okay. My first offseason move, I kind of came up with these in the last moment, so they're not super exciting or thrilling. But I said something that I think I might have said this before, but it's just the thing that I think I want to happen. I know that there's a dream scenario where you could keep both players. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily a dream scenario, but the Giants want to keep both Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. But it sounds like they're more likely to keep Jones around than Barkley, which I guess makes sense.
Running backs age.
Yeah.
Barkley's a better player. He's not going to have longevity past a couple years.
And it might be better for them to not invest a contract in that, whereas Daniel Jones, at the very least, you get him a contract that's like doesn't hit the cap too hard, and it's just good enough where you keep him around for like a little bit longer, but maybe have it out if he does fall apart, it doesn't work out. Yeah, I think it does make sense. But so then where does Barkley go? I say Saquon Barkley goes to the Buffalo Bills. I think that's just a lot of fun. Like I think that would be I think that they're going to be looking at they've always been looking at running back, but Saquon to me feels like that would be the surest bet, unless Derrick Henry does get traded from the Titans, which also could absolutely happen. Like that is a thing that could happen this offseason. And if that's the case, you could also get Derrick Henry, not both at the same time, but I'm just saying that's also an option for the Bills. I'm going to say the more likely scenario right now, which is Saquon Barkley goes to the Buffalo Bills.
I like it.
There you go.
All right, you knew it was coming, Chris. Bears related one from me. You ready?
Yes.
All right. This is my group of players. I think the Bears are going to get a huge free agent wide receiver.
Okay.
And the 3 that I've narrowed it down to, and I actually have forgotten one of them, but DeAndre Hopkins,
yeah,
to the Bears,
yeah,
or T. Higgins to the Bears.
So
even though the Bengals have said they wouldn't trade him, that's my prediction. I forget who the third one was. But he's out there.
I think that T. Higgins, the T. Higgins report has been it's been debunked by the Bengals, but it's also that initial report that was happening with T. Higgins, I think was I was listening to the Around the NFL podcast, and they were talking about this, that initial report is I forget what the term is used, but sometimes there's a lot of aggregate writing in journalism nowadays, because that's just what gets clicks, and that's just how these outlets make money at this point. And sometimes when you do those aggregate articles, you type something in there that all of a sudden becomes a story of its own. And the T. Higgins, that where it basically went from T. Higgins could be a potential release or trade candidate, and it kind of then snowballed into being like, oh yeah, T. Higgins is definitely in the trade market. He's definitely gonna be set packing, and that's why it became such a big story. I don't think that the Bengals are moving on from T. Higgins.
No, I don't think they are. In
my opinion. DeAndre Hopkins, though, much more likely that he moves on from the Cardinals.
I remember who it was. Brandon Cooks.
Oh yes,
Brandon Cooks to the Bears.
Poor Brandon Cooks. He could never buy a house. he cannot settle down.
Listen, he wants out of Texas as much as anybody
else
would.
Whoa, 100%. I respect that. Like, I just hope for his well-being that at some point he gets to settle down, because he's been just traded everywhere in the league. But hey, maybe Illinois is where his final landing spot could be. On this note, then, I love that you brought up DeAndre Hopkins, because I too would like to see DeAndre Hopkins land with a team that I love. So I have DeAndre Hopkins going to the Giants in a situation here. Here's
now that makes sense,
because to me, where I look at the Giants, like, the biggest issue, it was awesome to see the wide receivers that they had step up in dire circumstances. Sterling Shepard, I believe, is going to be hitting free agency. Isaiah Hodgins is hitting free agency. You will still have what's the guy that I always forget his name, but the guy Darius Slayton. Yeah. He's I think he's still under contract. But even still, you do have a bleak receiver core at this point. You got to get someone in there, and I think that whatever the Cardinals want for Hopkins, you should try to get for it. Like, just put Daniel Jones in the best possible circumstance that you can. Like, that is like if he played as well as he did down the stretch last year, and with a really good wide receiver like that, I think that should be a good recipe. But I'm still not sold on Daniel Jones completely. I was ecstatic about how he played in the Vikings wildcard game, but obviously there's a lot of circumstances you have to think about when it comes to the fact that the Vikings had a shit defense. But it was just so much fun seeing him play at such a solid, like, play so well in that game, that if you can get that from him with a better supporting cast around him, the Giants could be in really good shape. But we'll see. But DeAndre Hopkins to the Giants, I think, could happen. What's your last prediction?
I mean, come on, Chris. What do you think it is?
I feel like it's something that you have been wanting for a very long time.
Lamar Jackson gets traded to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna be the Jets or the Commanders for Lamar, which the Commanders with Bieniemy, that's a fucking insane prospect.
Yeah,
but I'm a Panthers fan, so I'm gonna say the Panthers.
A lot of teams will be in the market for Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely. If this ends up being a trade, like, he's another one like Hopkins. It's like you gotta give it up. Maybe not as much as you gave up for well, I don't know, actually, because you got to compare it to like a Russ situation, right?
I mean, compare it to Deshaun Watson. I mean,
Russ and Watson, you got to give it that much up.
Yeah, like you have reached that level. Like, you could get 3 first-round picks. Like, that's the level of trade that you're talking about with Lamar Jackson. My final pick. With a lot of speculation about where he's gonna land, Mr. Rodgers, and I think I know the perfect place for him.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers traded to the Toronto Argonauts, becoming the star of the Canadian Football League. And just completely did I just kill you? I'm so sorry.
No, it's funny because I was also originally going to make an Aaron Rodgers to the CFL joke.
Oh, great. So I'm glad that you and I are on the same wavelength. So yeah, I although there's a part of me that feels bad doing that to Canada, so I was also just thinking of Aaron Rodgers to Jupiter or something.
He has to play for them until Big Brother Canada gives back the live feeds.
No. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a whole other can of worms.
That's a whole other thing.
A whole nother department of entertainment for us. But yeah, that's
Live
that.
things we won't watch, but still, it's the principle of the thing.
It's the principle. Damn right. But there you go. That's the. I could have worked harder on that, but again, we're just. I just wanted to come up with something on that front. Matt, yours was stronger. I'm excited to see where everyone. Where I think it's gonna be fascinating. This is, as much as I love the NFL season, it is fun to see how the offseason plays out. It's fun to see all these moves happen, and I'm excited to see what the next time you hear from us, we're gonna live in a different NFL world.
The next time you hear from us, DeAndre Hopkins will be a Chicago Bear.
No, well, it's definitely not. It's not a. It is no question that could possibly happen. But I think
Cardinals trade up to 1. There's no reason for the Cardinals to trade up to 1, but the Cardinals trade up to 1 just with a pick swap and DeAndre Hopkins.
Right. I think the next time you hear from us, DeAndre Hopkins will be a Giant. So that's now we have caused the paradox essentially.
No, there we go. All right.
I'm just kidding. The Cardinals are a fucking mess, by the way. The other story.
Oh,
there's a story.
They got to pay for their own fucking meals.
Oh, I don't
know.
The
NFLPA report.
Oh yes, okay, that was that, and there was they had somehow the Commanders were ranked 32nd because the Cardinals were ranked 31st. It had 4 F minuses in that report.
Yeah.
And yet still was not as low as the Commanders, which I just think is fucking hilarious. But the Cardinals are a mess, and they're going to be without Kyler Murray for a good chunk of next season because of his injury, and so.
Yep.
They are going to have a rough go of it. They are going to pick number 1 overall most likely next season.
Well, we said that about the Seahawks.
That's true, but I
have less faith in the Cardinals next
season. You know what? Geno Smith's going to somehow hit free agency and is going to sign with the Cardinals, and he's going to carry that
Geno
team.
Smith, the famed franchise savior, Geno Smith.
Damn right.
Everything that he's always been known for doing.
Hey, listen. Are we in this? Are we not in this offseason more positive about the future of the Seahawks than we were last season?
Oh, Geno, no. I'm just saying that, like until last year, that was not what Geno Smith was known for.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. Well, Matt, anything else that you would like to say or do or recommend before we get close out here?
Ted Lasso season 3 is coming out in a couple weeks. I've been rewatching. I'm in the middle of season 1, rewatching it. Compare.
We have to rewatch. We've dropped off after the middle of season 2. We have not gone back.
Yeah, you should do that.
Yeah, we have to. We definitely need to get back to that. Man, the Traders is fucking great, man.
Good.
We talked about the U.S. seasons. The UK season was also fantastic. If you're a fan of challenges, you may not like the fact that the UK just basically uses the same exact challenges for the US, but if you love just the drama of the traders and the excitement of finding the traders, or the traders trying to enact their plans moving forward, and the traders turning on each other, this is yet another phenomenal season. I think it has a better finish, at the very least, a better finish than Traders US.
I legally cannot agree with you.
well, I just recommend watching the Traders UK.
Okay.
That because otherwise I don't know if you know what happens.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah, it is just worth noting that the UK one is just so much fun. And we're watching the Australian trailers. These are all things that are on Peacock, by the way. The US, UK, and Australian seasons of the Traders, all of which have been renewed for season 2s, which is super exciting. Australia's I'm not as much enjoying, only because it's taking them forever to introduce the entire cast. Like, there's people that are showing up in like episode 4 that I'm like, I have not seen this person before. But it's a completely new location, completely new challenges at the very least, so it at least keeps it a little bit more fresh on that front. So yeah, if you love Among Us, or if you love reality shows that are
Mafia.
Competitions,
it's Mafia.
Yes, yeah, like, please, like, check it out. Like, it might be my new favorite reality show, if I'm being honest.
High praise.
But yes, there you go. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for sticking with us. If you're listening and waited 2 weeks for an episode, I greatly appreciate it. You're going to have to wait another 2 weeks for another episode, just because, again, it's nice to have this more spaced out during... we go so hard for an entire season. It's nice to kind of space out these episodes now that things are... there's no weekly games to worry about.
Yeah.
So I hope you could stick with us. We'll be back in a couple weeks to recap everything that has happened in free agency and with trading and all that stuff. A lot of things are probably going to happen very, very soon. So until then, folks, thank you all again, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Good night and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.